Hello, good evening, class.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. How was your day? It was
Fine,
good.
thank you, sir.
All
And
right.
yours too? Yes, sir.
Yeah, very fine. Thank God.
Oh, good. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So perhaps we just wait a few more minutes for our colleagues to stroll into the class. So then maybe we
Okay,
can
sir.
start, say, about 10 minutes after it.
All right, sir. Thank you,
Fine.
sir.
Hello, good evening, class. Yes, so we were waiting for our colleagues to join us. I think we have a quorum, so we can start the class now. Yes, so once again, good evening, everyone. I want to warmly welcome us to, I think this is the first class for AGR 901, which is a seminar course. It's part of our courseworks for first semester. However, it's a seminar course. So this is the difference between seminar course and or seminar courses and non-seminar courses. So for seminar courses, we are basically going to be presenting seminars in class, just like the name implies. We are going to distribute a couple of contemporary topics within the agribusiness ecosystem globally to us to research and to develop a position paper, a seminar paper, that we then come to class to present to our colleagues. Thereafter, there will be discussions around the seminars, around the topic, around the veracity of the presenter's position by members of the class. That is basically meant to stimulate critical thinking. For doctoral programs, we are to a large extent after critical thinking, ability to analyze, ability to research, collect information, juxtapose data, and take a position, an informed position, that can contribute to the body of knowledge. So that's entirely what we are doing with seminar in emerging issues in global agribusiness. So it's a seminar course. That means that we are not going to be having examination for this course at the end of the semester. So why for the other 3 courses or for the other 5 courses, depending on the program we are doing, I know DBA has more courses than NPPHD. So depending on the program we are doing, we are not going to be writing the exam for this course. So your presentations in class and your contribution to class presentations would form the entire assessment for this course. So the entire 100% mark available for this course would actually revolve around this seminar. So there won't be any form of examination for this course. So your presentation, your contribution, your analysis, your critique of class presentations, will form the entirety of our grading rubrics for this program. So it's very important for us to establish that foundation. Definitely, we all know that doctoral work or doctoral program revolves a lot around the ability of students to unravel new information, to unravel new ideas, new position within the field of knowledge. And of course, we are all in agribusiness. We are running programs, doctoral programs in agribusiness. So the entire objective of this program is for us to be able to, contribute originally to the body of knowledge. Interestingly, agribusiness is an emerging field of influence or community of practice in Nigeria and even across the globe. Agribusiness is not as old as the general agricultural economics or general agriculture that we are all used to. I could remember a couple of years back, I think it was 2011, 2012, or thereabouts, we're trying to register an organization that has the word agribusiness in it. And the Corporate Affairs Commission Nigeria as of then rejected the application for incorporation, stating clearly that there is no word called agribusiness. That is either we are referring to business or we are referring to agriculture, that there is no word called agribusiness. So the lawyer that was working for us at the organization then, we had to guide him. We had to go online to, extract papers from other organizations across the world where the word agribusiness was already existing. I think then we also had to go to the Harvard Agribusiness program, which was just coming up at the time, and also print out a lot of things. Go to extract data from Ray Goldberg, the father of agribusiness. Extract, print out, do a lot of printouts basically. Circling the word agribusiness. We circle agribusiness on this paper. We circle agribusiness on that paper. And then we compiled a very large volume of documents and then submitted to Corporate Affairs Commission for them to know that while agribusiness was not existing as a word within the corporate hemisphere in Nigeria, that as at that time, it was already gaining acceptance, gaining ground in other advanced climes like the US, like the UK, Europe, and other countries. You know, it was until then that they now became convinced that it wasn't a mistake. So their initial assumption was that we made a mistake. You know, so it was until then that they were able to discover and confirm that, oh, it's not a mistake. Agribusiness actually exists as a word, a compound word derived from agriculture and business. So then they registered us. And from that point, agribusiness became part of the lexicon of Corporate Affairs Commission. Other businesses, other corporate entities that came after that to register agribusiness as an entity, they were able to get it registered because it has now become like an acceptable practice. You know, and this was just how many years ago? Just 2011 or thereabout. So you can imagine how far we have come as an industry. There are so many projects revolving around agribusiness now. There are so many corporate organizations with their core mandate revolving around the business of agriculture. And even over the years, academic institutions still struggle with accepting that agribusiness in itself is a standalone discipline. I have been privileged to be part of a couple of deliberations here and there at the level of National Universities Commission, at the level of National Board for Technical Education, where a lot of stakeholder engagement happened from 2019, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, before these regulatory bodies could get to the part where they accepted the fact that agribusiness is actually a discipline. So it was NBT, National Board for Technical Education, that became the most receptive at the time and accepted to create curriculum for HND in agribusiness. You know, after a lot of industry engagement from professional bodies like the Institute of Agribusiness and a lot of other thoughts and opinion leaders in agribusiness at the time, then NUC, National Universities Commission, now, you know, they were late adopters. They were late adopters, and then, you know, they eventually had to catch up with our positions, and then now created CC Max for agribusiness programs in Nigerian universities. And gradually, we are now seeing gradual acceptance of agribusiness as a standalone discipline. And we did a survey of our contemporaries in Ghana. We also discovered that quite a number of universities in Ghana now have agribusiness programs at undergraduate and at postgraduate level. I think 2 years ago, I led our students from the university to Ghana, to the University of Cape Coast in Ghana, where we had an exchange session with the faculties and students of the University of Cape Coast, the Department of Agribusiness, where we rub minds and exchange ideas on how our curriculum should be designed, how our learning pedagogue should be designed, what the expectation should be like for our students. You know, and in the course of these conversations, all of us, you know, we saw new angles to all of what we are all doing in different parts of the continent. For example, at the University of Cape Coast, their bachelor's program in agribusiness, the students don't do final undergraduate projects, that normal one that we do where students will go and write nonsense things and then come and present jargons and then just give them the degree. No. The students create a business right from year 2, which is our 200 level. They get into an incubation program. So the department has an incubation program called Center for Design Thinking. So the students go to Center for Design Thinking at least twice in a week to go and learn how to conceptualize product concepts within the agribusiness hemisphere. So they teach them how to use design thinking to conceptualize product concepts, to design products, to create products, and to develop value proposition around their product concepts. So by the time they are done with their second year, they already have clarity on the product or service concept they are going to develop throughout their stay in the university. So from year 3, they now start developing, they now start building. So you now see a lot of young people at year 3, year 4, they have built different food concepts and they have built small business framework around them. Some of them have built technological solutions, applications, innovative concepts around food processing, around post-harvest management. They build this modular, small mobile, modular equipment, modular facilities around specific challenge or specific pain points within the value chain. So at the end of the day, by the time they get to year 4, they already have something physical to present. So during their final year project defense, which is our normal final year project defense, where we bring our students to the class, where they start talking about nonsense theoretical jargons, which they themselves don't even know in most cases. Most of them, they have outsourced their projects to contractors to write for them, and they just memorize and come and just reel out to us. These guys at the University of Cape Coast, they come with physical products. They come with dummies of their service concept. And the university, instead of inviting professors and doctors that only know theories and know nothing about the real business world, the university invites captains of industries. They invite business leaders. They invite angel investors. They invite a lot of investment stakeholders to come into the room to listen to the ingenious presentations of the students. Interestingly, most of these students get funders. Funders precede Serie A precede funders in most cases, or Serie A funders in most cases. For those of them that have started something prior, they get funders from the people in the room, the deal rooms. Some of them get partners. Some of them get ready-made employers on the strength of the dynamics of their presentations. Then moving to Uganda at the Makerere University, the food processing department, I also discovered that they also have the same template for their students. The students from year 2 develop concept, products, and such that by the end of their program in the university, they already have something to build an enterprise activity around. Fantastic model. So we discovered that agribusiness conversations across the continent is being shaped by the various experiences all of us are exposed to on a regular basis. Here in Nigeria, agribusiness is still largely structured across development-focused agribusiness activities and enterprise-focused agribusiness activities. What I can safely call the for-profit component of agribusiness and the non-for-profit, the development component of agribusiness. A large chunk of funding that comes into the agribusiness ecosystem in Nigeria by the development organizations are actually channeled towards using agribusiness as a vehicle for impact, for lifting the society, for lifting people out of poverty, not necessarily to drive profits, but to a large extent to serve as a vehicle to uplift our smallholder farmers community out of abject poverty and empower them with opportunities that agribusiness can afford them. So that is like a prominent component of agribusiness that we do in this part of the world. You know that in West Africa, our agribusiness or our agriculture is, let's say, 70% dominated by smallholder farmers. So because it's largely dominated by smallholder farmers, you have to see a lot of interventions, agribusiness interventions coming into those ecosystems to activate or accelerate the level of transition from smallholder farming to commercial farming. On the flip side, when we go to South Africa, I've been to South Africa about twice this year. I'm doing some work at the University of Johannesburg. And in the course of my work, I did some studies around, visited some commercial operations and agribusiness. And I discovered that the agribusiness sector in South Africa is complete opposite of what we have in West Africa. So theirs is about 70% dominated by commercial farmers and just very small, 20-25% by smallholder farmers. So you don't see a lot of intervention organizations. You don't even see NGOs. You don't see USAID. You don't see DFID. You don't see all the NGOs that support agribusiness in Nigeria and Ghana and other West African countries. You don't see them in South Africa. because those are commercial farmers. Those guys have their money, so it's purely business. It's purely business. It's purely for profit, and there's capacity there. A single farm is moving 10 truck load of freshly harvested apple to the Johannesburg fresh produce market twice a week. You can imagine. So when we have conversations in South Africa around agribusiness, the direction of the conversation is different from the direction of the conversations we have in West Africa. So most times, so eventually when I got there, I discovered that I needed to format all my training materials, all my lecture materials, which were mostly computed from my experience facilitating agribusiness conversations around projects in West Africa. So I discovered that the directions was entirely different from what I'm used to. And I had to start interrogating people. I had to start asking questions, studying case studies, visiting farms, visiting commercial farm produce markets, seeing agribusiness from a different prism entirely. That is why they say South Africa is a country of two agriculture, mostly dominated by commercial farmers. The white farmers, those Dutch farmers that are now South Africans. They are the ones that largely dominate the agribusiness sector in South Africa. So I'm giving all this background for us to just have an idea of how agribusiness in itself has evolved over the years, both as an academic discipline and as an industrial practice, or even as a development practice. I remember even there are a lot of contentions around where should agribusiness programs be domiciled in Nigerian universities or in African universities. Some universities will say it should be in agricultural economics. Some will say it should be in the business school, in the faculty of management. So there are a lot of back and forth. And then some organizations or some universities started studying models of institutions across the world. For example, when we were designing our agribusiness programs at the university, by the grace of God, I'm the founding coordinator and I'm the coordinator of the program till date. So I developed the entire concept notes for the master's program, the doctoral programs. I developed the entire concept note. I developed the curriculum. I developed all of the structures and framework for the program. So we had to, because of that, study agribusiness programs in other universities across the world. And we discovered that in the United States of America, where most of us have modeled our programs after, it's almost 50-50. So you see programs, agribusiness programs in universities like University of Tennessee, domiciled under the agricultural economics program. Meanwhile, when you go to the universities like Arizona State University, you discover that their PhD program and their master's program in agribusiness are domiciled in the business school. And the story is the same direction across the world. Coming down to Nigeria, we discovered that it's better we place these programs in the business school. Because if you place this program under agricultural economics, it is going to a large extent, it will not capture very well what we intend agribusiness to capture. Agribusiness should be the business of agriculture. It's not going to be the econometrics of agriculture. It's not going to deal with the numbers. The numbers are good, but they're going to be tailored towards enterprise acceleration, enterprise growth, enterprise development. When the former AFDB president said, I've never seen a poor American farmer and I've never seen a poor European farmer, but I've seen millions and millions of poor African farmers. And that is essentially because African farmers do not understand that agriculture in itself is a business. So when people are doing their farm setup, they are not factoring in their market, their sales plan, their market plan. They are not factoring in their cost analysis, their financials. People don't even know how to do cost analysis, financial analysis, cash flow analysis for their farm project. That is why on our MBA agribusiness program, we have courses like financial management in agribusiness. And for courses like that, we pick professionals. For example, the current MBA program in agribusiness, the financial management in agribusiness is being lectured by the group head for agribusiness at Access Bank, who is one of our PhD students. So he understands agriculture, He understands finance. So someone that will be able to do justice to that kind of curriculum will be someone that has a very strong understanding of agriculture, farm management, and at the same time, a very strong understanding of financial management. So he is able to marry the two together. On our MBA program, we also have a course called Business Analytics and Big Data in Agribusiness, because data now sits at the heart of what we do. And we are not just talking about any type of data, we are talking about functional data. Some data are not useful. They're just a bunch of numbers that only the economists can understand. But when it comes to data that we can analyze and use in making day-to-day management decisions, management-centric data, is entirely different concept entirely. So the lecturer taking that also is also a business analyst that is also an agribusiness professional. He graduated on our MBA program. He's a CBAP holder, Certified Business Analytics Professional, and is a consultant on business analytics for farms and food industries across Africa. Round peg and round hole. So we now discover that for us to do proper justice to the business of agriculture, we cannot run away from the management framework. What are management framework? Talk about human resources. You talk about financial management. You talk about marketing and sales. You talk about operations management. You know, if you now look at all of the management framework, all those management framework are the core of what we do in agribusiness. Human resource management. Don't we have to manage labor on our farms? There are emerging labor crises within our agribusiness ecosystem. A friend called me some couple of years back. She said, my farm workers, all of them just abandoned the farm, but they said they are traveling back to their village. They are northerners. They want to also go and farm. And they didn't give the lady prior notice. And she started running scatter to find a way to get laborers to manage the farm. Otherwise, she would lose a lot of money. Then at some point, people started going to Togo, to Cotonou, to those francophone countries to go bring the laborers to Nigeria for farm operations. Then somewhere along the line, you discovered that because of the devaluation that has happened to our currency, it's no longer attractive to those francophone guys to come here again. Because when they go back home after the farming season and they compare what they have earned in Naira and when it's converted to their CFA, and they compare it to what their colleagues had earned working on cocoa farms in Ivory Coast, they discover that they've not even earned anything. So a lot of them now are preferring to go to the francophone countries, especially Ivory Coast, where there are large commercial cocoa plantations and they are using a large volume of labor, mostly sourced from smaller African countries like Togo, like Benin, and all the likes. So there are emerging problems that there are interesting dynamics in labor management in agribusiness. So if you don't understand human resource management, you cannot understand how to manage labor crisis in agribusiness. So you can, for example, now pick a research problem for your PhD work or for your DBA work around labor management or labor crisis, in agribusiness. So you won't get that if the program is under agri-economics, for example. You will get more of that when the program is under the business school, because these are business issues. Don't forget, agribusiness is the business of agriculture. I always want people to keep that simple definition in proper perspective, because when we keep it in proper perspective, it will make us understand that we need to run farms as a profit. We need to run our food processing operations as a profit. To a large extent, because our agribusiness or our agricultural activity in this part of the world have been largely do not dependent. A lot of people do not even understand how to run farm businesses at the profit. Because at the beginning of the season, government will give you subsidized fertilizer. Government will give you subsidized seedlings. There are a lot of subsidized activities. NGOs will also come with their own subsidized this thing, free this, free that. At the end of the day, people don't understand how to garbage in input and garbage out output profitably. So people would say, so the few people that were now trying to do commercial agribusiness, we're not finding it easy to practice because it's not competitive. They are going to buy their own input themselves from their own capital. How will they compete with someone that has gotten free input from an agency? So at the end of the day, there were a lot of disparity between cost of production, of people that have put in their own investment to drive in their operations compared to people that have gotten a lot of subsidies to drive this process. So a lot of people don't even understand how to make profit, how to drive profitability. People will tell me, this agribusiness, is it really profitable like this? Somebody was telling me recently, or sharing recently, a lady, she works in a bank, and she was saying that this agribusiness is really profitable because when we give people grants, we don't have problems. We don't have problems with them. But when we give them loan, then we have problems with them. What is really going on? Are you sure this agribusiness is really profitable? It's really making sense? I just laugh. I said it's making sense because people do agribusinesses all over the world. If you go to the Netherlands, young, smart guys are running interesting agribusinesses, driving interesting cash flow. Because right from the beginning, their businesses are structured around profitability and sustainability. But here in this part of the world, it's a different ballgame entirely. So there are a lot of support to help you jumpstart the process. And when you jumpstart the process, you don't even have the nitty-gritty, the know-how of what it takes to properly structure a business and drive it sustainably and profitably. So all of these issues are research problems. They are contemporary research problems. And don't forget, as doctoral students, our job is to identify points of pains. I call it pain points. We must continuously identify points of pain. And we must continuously think around how do we solve these pain points? How do we create solution frameworks around them? How do we ameliorate these challenges? How can our researches lead to improvement in the industry, in the ecosystem? And there's no way in which you can do this if you don't have a pragmatic approach to how we teach agribusiness, how we discuss agribusiness, how we practice agribusiness. I personally am always very passionate when I see that conversations around agribusiness are revolving around business concept, business growth, enterprise improvement. I want people to be able to understand that this is a serious business. I need to master my numbers. I need to master my processes. I need to understand what it takes for me to put in $1 million on a farm at the beginning of the season and make out 1.5 million naira at the end of the season. With or without development support, with or without external grant, with or without anything. Because me personally, I don't see agriculture or agribusiness as being different from any other business or any other sector. Medical sector, what is it called? Manufacturing, every other thing. I don't see any difference. I don't see any difference between those two industries. In 2015, I attended the Global Forum for Innovation in Agriculture in Abu Dhabi. And part of the post-conference activities then was they took us to a farm, an hydroponics farm on the outskirts of Abu Dhabi, just to see smart farming, and all of these things. When we got to this farm, colleagues, I thought we were at KPMG, like we were at a multinational audit firm, like skyscrapers. The farm is on like 10 story building. Each of the floors were commercial vertical farms. Then you see the accountants, the finance guy, the data guys wearing their suits and their tie with their notepads, with them moving up and down, collecting data from the sensors, and inputting them, analyzing them, getting decision, pure precision agriculture, precision farming, structured around a very strong corporate framework. They're producing cherry tomatoes. They're producing this cucumber that is like finger cucumber, those tiny ones. They were producing and selling all these over the entire United Arab Emirates. UAE is it's a desert, so those guys have been able to find solutions around their problems by being innovative completely. But I was particularly impressed by how intentional those guys were with every layers of the corporate structure of that farm. In fact, the farm was like a factory. When you go to Nestle or all these multinational manufacturing companies, they have the factory side where you have the engineers and all of those ones. Then you have the corporate side where you have the accountants, the marketers, the general manager, all those guys. Those guys, that is exactly how this farm was. And I was extremely impressed. It's a serious business. They are driving profit. They are driving good cash flow. Like nobody's giving them anything. It's purely business. It's purely business. So if everybody begin to have that mindset, then gradually agribusiness investment will now become stable. It will not be able to attract external investment, external funding. People now can structure their business models appropriately so that they can drive sustainability, it can drive adequate cash flow, and it can be competitive. We must be able to structure the agribusiness industry in a way that is competitive. We now have African Continental Free Trade Zone area, which is now at some point going to cascade into free flow of trade across the entire African countries, including food produce. So eventually we're going to get to that point where farm produce in South Africa can come into Nigeria freely without any form of tariff. The ones in Nigeria can go freely into markets in South Africa, into markets in East Africa, even markets in North Africa. So how do we stay competitive? How do we stay competitive? How do we stay compliant? Our agribusiness industry must be well structured and must be well positioned. So I'm just giving all this background so that we can open up our minds to identifying problems. It's going to be a major quality for us as doctoral students, our ability to be able to identify gaps, inefficiencies in processes. I'm always looking for problems to solve, to bring to class for students to build their research agenda around it. Because that is how gradually, one research work at a time, one paper at a time, we can begin to provide solutions to our agribusiness challenges and get to the point where we can structure our agribusiness industry, and it can remain very, very competitive. So the entire agenda for this course is to discuss emerging issues. There are a lot of emerging issues, emerging problems, contemporary challenges, contemporary issues around the global agribusiness industry. So as researchers, we are going to dig deep into these issues. We are going to read wide around them. And we are going to now form a position. You know that you can read, there's a way you can read and read neutrally. And there's a way you can read in a way that you will be able to take a position. For example, when we talk about maybe GMOs, for example, genetically modified organisms, some people don't have problems with it as far as food production or food security is concerned. Because for some people, we must solve food security first before talking about nutrition security. They will say if you are in a state of war, what will be your priority? Is it food or is it nutrition? They say it's food first. It is only when you have eaten that you can be talking about nourishment. Have I been nourished? Let me even still fill my stomach first before I start asking the secondary question of nourishment. So some people believe that this part of the world, essentially, we are still grappling with challenges of food security. And we have not gotten to the part where we are talking about nutrition security. Because you have to be food secure first before you converse around nutrition security. If you are not food secure, you cannot be nutrition secure. But you can be nutrition secure when you are food secure. So there's only when you have money and you can afford anything you want to eat that you start asking about nutrition. I want to eat low-fat diet. I want to eat high protein diet. I want to eat low cholesterol diet. You know, I want to eat plant-based diet. I don't even want to eat any form of animal protein. I just want to do purely plant-based diet. In fact, some people will even say, I want to eat plant-based diet without oil. Plant-based diet without oil. So even my vegetables that I'm going to prepare my plant-based diet, I am not even going to use oil. Some will say, oh, I'll do plant-based diet with oil, but I'm going to use only olive oil. I'm not going to use any of the oil that is high in omega-6 fatty acids. I'm going to use only oils that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids in order to reduce my susceptibility to inflammation and inflammatory biomarkers. So you can make all these decisions because you are not hungry. Because you are not hungry, you already have food options. Food is already on your table. You can afford to eat calorie first. You have already taken care of your calorie requirements. That is where you can now start making extra choices that revolves around your nutrition need. If you are not eating, whether it is sebo that they bring, whether it is rice, whether it is pounded yam, your priority at the time is to eat. Your priority at the time is to eat. That is why there are a lot of emphasis on agencies saying Sub-Saharan Africa is still grappling with food security. So before we can talk about nutrition security, we must solve the challenges of food security first. But then not everybody will agree with this position. Not everybody will agree with this position. For example, now there are a few studies that have linked the dwindling life expectancy rate in Africa to our food system. I tell people that if there is any epidemics, before you look at the public health system, look at the food system. Someone was discussing with me in one of my previous classes about catfish farmers in our locality. And these catfish farmers, because of improper education, they overload their catfishes with antibiotics because they don't want the fishes to be sick. They want to get them to table size in as fast as possible. Same with the poultry industry. A lot of farmers are their own veterinarian. They don't even invite veterinary doctors. They know how to buy antibiotics and mix it together, put it in the water for the birds to take. So we now have an emerging challenge with over usage of antibiotics in our food system. Now, most of these antibiotics are not properly biodegraded, and they are transmitted to buyers who buy these, process them, and consume them. Now, doctors in public health are now beginning to see a rising rate in antibiotics resistance among people. So somebody said, common antibiotics that we used to prescribe before, they are no longer working. What's going on? And by the time we exhaust all possible antibiotics for these infections, and they are not curing them, then common flu can kill people. In the years and centuries before antibiotics, flu was a killer. Common flu, common cold and cold flu would kill people. But then research gave us antibiotics that can eradicate this flu, easily. But now we are now getting to the point where we are having a rising case in antibiotics resistance. And it's not because people are using antibiotics a lot abusively. No. It is because they are consuming it secondarily from livestock and agriculture. And people don't know these things. So are we not going to say that it's just food security without nutrition security? So because you are giving me food now, you should poison me. So if you poison me now, and my quality of life is reduced, then what else? What then is the benefit of the food that you're giving me? Because food must lead to increase in quality of life. And for us to have increase and improvement in quality of life, there must be improvement in our nutrition security, in our nutrition biomarkers. So if you are researching the topic around food security versus nutrition security in sub-Saharan Africa, you can take a position after reading extensively. You can take a position and then build your paper around that position. Are you following me, class?
Yes, sir. We
Hello?
are. Yes, sir.
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay, thank you. I need to be sure I'm not speaking to myself. So you can take a position around, after reading extensively, you can take a position and then build your paper, build your writing or write-up in such a way that it will provide intellectual justification to the position you are taking. And all of us can reason along with you that based on the data that I've gathered and evidences before me while I was preparing this paper, this is my conclusion and these are my recommendations. And then you detail it, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. That is how to make original contribution to the body of knowledge. That is how to bridge a gap. All of these seminar papers must be easy for us to turn into policy papers, policy recommendations for our public sector practitioners, for our development sector professionals, for our commercial actors, for our financial institutions, for our associations. All these researches must be able to be converted to position papers. That is when, as doctoral students, we can make original contribution to the body of knowledge. So that's an overview of what we are going to be discussing in emerging issues in global agribusiness. And this is how the framework looks like. Everybody will present, and we have structured the presentation, and there will be a lead discussant. There will be a lead discussant. All of us will eventually discuss the paper, but there will be a lead discussant. So say, for example, now, the first presentation, Olakpeju Grace, the seminar topic is geopolitics and the restructuring of the global food supply chains. And we've put it here. Let the seminar focus on examining how political tensions, war, and trade alliances influence agricultural trade routes, logistics systems, and food export dependencies. Touch on global disruptions such as the Russia-Ukraine war, US-China trade war, and Africa's shifting trade alignment. Please, 1 minute. I want to close a window. Yeah, thank you. So review how geopolitical risk are redefining supply chain sovereignty and national food security. You know, to a large extent, there are some commodities that are called political commodities. Commodities like rice, commodities like wheat. They are not just ordinary food commodities. They are political commodities. They are commodities that are used as an instrument of war. For example, now the US-Russia the US-Russia issue, or the Russia-Ukraine war crisis, wheat was at the heart of the dynamics of that war, because both Russia and Ukraine are major producers of wheat. In fact, I attended the global the Russia-Africa Economic Forum 2 years ago in Russia, and we were in the room, and we were to have a session with Putin, Vladimir Putin, and immediately Putin came in. There were a lot of African presidents in the room, almost about 30 African presidents were in the room, and as soon as Putin entered the room and started presenting, he focused his presentation around the fact that Russia was going to release grains, shiploads of grains, to all the African countries. You need to see the applause in the room. Everybody was excited because free grains was going to come to Africa. Free grains, wheat, was going to come to Africa. Oh, we're going to release this million metric tons of wheat to Africa over the next 2 years. This, that's it. A lot of African countries put their relationship with the West on the line, on the strength of the grain dynamics, the grain supply dynamics from Russia. Because the shipping route also for Ukraine grain is also around Russia, down to other continents before coming to Africa. So there are a lot of politics, there are a lot of global politics that's shaping the food supply chain. Everybody in Nigeria, even the locals, the illiterate, they felt the Russia-Ukraine war because the price of bread skyrocketed. And when you ask them, why is bread now this expensive? They say, don't you know that wheat is coming from Russia and Ukraine? And because of the war, we are not able to get the wheat. And they say bread is a poor man's food. Everybody eats bread, even the poor, the rich, everybody eats bread. So if there is a hike in the price of bread, if there is a hike in the price of rice, everybody will feel it. In Nigeria, because of when the new government came on board, because of how expensive rice was at the time, everybody was using rice to measure the performance of the government. Rice. If you say, how is this government performing? They say, this is a very terrible government. Do you know how much is a bag of rice? They don't even care about how much government is spending on other sectors. As far as bag of rice is expensive, government is not performing. So rice, wheat, quite a number of commodities are political commodities. In fact, I can remember at the beginning of this new government in Nigeria, it's about 2 years old now. One of the first things they did was to inaugurate a presidential committee on rice. I was on that committee before it was disbanded. Presidential committee on rice. It was an emergency for us to talk about how we can quickly solve this rice problem. Eventually, all the proposals were not friendly to government. So their next approach was to open up the borders and then bring in rice and then flood the entire space. And then that became a problem for our rice millers, who could no longer compete with the rice coming from the borders. So there are a lot of geopolitics, there are a lot of issues around the global food supply chain. It is this topic that we want Olagboju Grace to research on. So when you now put up this paper, you will now submit it to me, and you will also share it with your discussant, Amiwe Matsuri. And you will submit this paper at least 3 days to the day of your presentation, so that both the lecturer and the discussant can thoroughly read that paper and also take a position, whether they agree with your position or not. The discussant must be able to critically analyze your paper. One of the things we do in doctoral programs and doctoral classes is to promote critical thinking. When we go for academic conferences and other researchers are presenting their papers, we are looking for holes. We want to puncture that work. I remember one of our students on the MPhil program. She presented at the seminar, and the paper was so badly critiqued that she started crying. Madam, why are you crying now? All we are doing is to improve the work, because all these contributions are to improve the quality of the work. She started crying. All the sleepless nights she had over this work, they just tore it into pieces. No. Every contribution was tailored to improving the quality of the work, because there is something they call benefit of hindsight. So even as a researcher, even if you are the best in the room, you would always need a benefit of hindsight, because while you are researching, there are places where you didn't cover, there are information that you didn't have access to, there are some that you didn't properly review, and another person can now, in the course of analyzing your work critically, will now bring out those gaps, those discrepancies, those misinformation, those nuances. Will now bring them out and bring them to the table. Are you getting me? So that is the work of the discussant. So immediately after the lead presenter is done with the presentation, the discussant would be the one to discuss the paper critically. Then after the discussant is done, then the rest of the class will now have to react to the paper. The interesting thing is that because this is a doctoral program, nobody can hide anywhere. So there are marks for discussants. Of course, there are marks for the presentation itself by the presenter. There are marks for discussants, and there are marks for class contributions. So you must contribute to every paper. You must make comments. So that is being part of the process of grooming you to become critical thinkers, to become deep thinkers, and to become astute researchers. Those are part of our processes to enable you to get to that point. Yeah, so we have also structured your variables. I've also helped you to put the variables together. The dependent variable, 1 minute please, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'm attending to something on my phone. So we have the dependent variable, which is, in this case, the global food supply chain. And I've also given you indicators that you can use to measure this variable. So if you are working around your dependent variables, how do I measure? When I say my dependent variable is global food supply chain stability, that is my dependent variable. How do I measure it? So in research, the dependent variable is our outcome variable, is our problem variable. That is what we are measuring to see if it can be affected by another variable. Are you getting me now? So the dependent variable is the one that is being changed, the one that you are manipulating to see if it would have effect on the dependent variable. So in a nutshell, we call the dependent variable the effect. The effect, that's what we're trying to see, the effect. Why the independent variable is the cause. Like, if we have this cause, what will the effect be? So we have a full course. We have a full course on research methodology. So you'll be properly taught on all of these variables. I have just given you a preliminary framework that will help you to get materials. So if you are looking for, if you are discussing global food supply chain stability, for example, what are the thematic focus that would help you to measure the indicators, that will help you to measure the variable? Those thematic focus are what we call indicators. Trade volume, trade flow volume, cost of logistics, export diversification, delivery time, reliability. All of this will determine global food supply chain stability. Then we have independent variables, tensions across countries, between countries, trade alliances that are shifting, policy sanctions, you know, all of them are already here. So your contribution, because this is a Pan-African program, we have students like Mazure from Zimbabwe. On our programs, we have in fact in our exam that we just concluded, we have students that came in all the way from Uganda. We have students that came in all the way from South Sudan. In our program, we have students from Ivory Coast. So it's a Pan-African program. So we expect that we can make a Pan-African contribution. So how we can make this contribution is what I have also put here. And so while you are preparing the paper, you can target the expected contribution to the African agribusiness industry, the African agribusiness ecosystem. Then you can also look at the general contribution as an academia to the body of knowledge. So agribusiness, like I told us earlier, is a pragmatic discipline. It's not purely an academic discipline. It's purely pragmatic because it's a business field, the business of agriculture. And in every general business thematic focus, the key outcomes are very easy to identify: profitability, sustainability, operational efficiency, low turnover of employees. Those indices they also find expression in agribusiness. I get him here. So that is presented by next week. That is on the 20th. Ready for us by next week Monday? Will you be ready for us by next week Monday, October 28th?
Okay, sir.
Alapaji Grace, are you with us in class? All right. So the class is on Monday. So by Friday, the paper should be ready, and then you can send it to Mazuru. Hello, class.
Welcome back, sir.
Yes, we can hear you now. Welcome back.
We can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, so I want to be sure that we are clear with the instructions and we are ready to go. Are we clear with the instructions?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I also noticed something that we've not really had a proper class introduction. So I think I might want to use my own class to just do that. Just unmute yourself. I'm going to call us in no particular order. Or let me say, as I'm seeing it on my screen, just tell us who you are, your background, where you work, what you do currently in the industry, in your country, across the continent, or globally, as the case may be. I'm going to start with A. Matsure. I can see you're unmuted already, so you can just do the honors. Mr. Matsure.
Doctor, how are you?
I'm alive. I'm grateful. How are you too?
I'm fine, sir. Right. My name is UC. It's anyway Matsure, not Amiway. It's anyway Matsure.
Anyway, okay.
Right. I work here. Yes. I'm a farmer as well as an agribusiness consultant here in Harare. And I'm a labor advisor. I work for the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare in Harare. Yeah, in short, that's we'll continue, we'll discuss later. But in short, that's my profile.
All right. All right, thank you. I'm sure I'll get the pronunciation very well at some point. It's nice to have you on the program. Thank you, and it's so easy, right? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, Doyin Adepoju, Madam Adepoju, good evening. Can you unmute yourself, please, and introduce yourself to us? Doyin Adepoju, are you with us? Can we take Farmer Lawrence? Farmer Lawrence, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. My name is Ayowa Ekundayo. I'm the co-founder and COO at Post Harvest Solutions Limited. We are a social enterprise working with smallholder farmers to provide access to markets, input, training, and necessary support to improve productivity for and access to nutritious food to households. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farmer Lawrence. Thank you. Nice to have you in class. Olajide Taiwo. Olakpeju Grace.
Hello, good evening, sir, and good evening, class. So my name is Grace Olakbeju, and
Yes,
I work with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, ITA, and the Youth in Agribusiness Unit. And what the unit is about is trying to change the perception of youth from seeing farming as an archaic or labor-intensive activity that does not really yield. So we're trying to engage youth in agribusiness to make it a career path for them, and also for them to see the different opportunities within the agri space. Then the unit also try to work with farmers to see new innovations that can enhance their activities to increase their profitability, and also for them to be able to get climate smart advisory services at every point in time. So basically, I work in that unit. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Nice to have you in class as well. Yes. Okay. Theophilus Asupo.
Hey, good evening, sir. Good evening, class. My name is Theophilus Asuko. I am the area sales manager for Harvest Field Industries Limited. Harvest Field Industries Limited is a company that deals specifically in agrochemicals. So we manufacture agrochemicals here in Nigeria, and then we import some of them also from other countries like China and some countries. So, and on the side, I am also a fish farmer, catfish farmer to be specific. So nice meeting everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're glad to have you with us as well. Zele Ayodeji, or Zele.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, class.
Yes, good evening.
My name is Osezeli Ayodeji. I'm a poultry farmer and I'm a day-old chick merchant. I'm the CEO of Elias Agro-Allied Services. Basically, what we do is that we market the chick products from different hatcheries to several farms across Nigeria. And we also deal with the basic buying and selling of these day chicks, and also supply and consulting to different farms in different parts of Nigeria. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, same here. Feeling is mutual. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we can go back to two persons now that have not introduced themselves. Doyin Adepoju, can we now meet you if you are free to talk? And Olajide Taiwo, anyone can unmute if they are in a conducive place that allows them to talk. So once we caught someone in a Zoom class and the person is not answering, we know that perhaps person has just logged into class and has gone to do some other things. While online learning is quite interesting and fascinating, part of the drawback still remains, that people can just put up an appearance for attendance purposes, and then you see them in the chat room, but their actual body is not in the chat room.
Hello.
Oh, Alajide is back. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, can we meet you?
Ajide Taiwo Oluwaseyi. So I'm into palm oil production. I'm a farmer.
Okay.
So it's really good to be here. So happy to be here.
Thank you. So it's quite interesting for us to see the diversity of the class. You can see from various angles, from various components in agribusiness. Farmer Lawrence from post-harvest management. We have Adzure, is in the government, is in public sector agribusiness. Adepoju, okay, that she's not been introduced. Alakpeju, advocacy, trying to get the youth to be more interested in agribusiness, because those guys are the ones that we are going to leave the sector for eventually. So a very vibrant youth-led agribusiness ecosystem is a very promising one. Theophilus is an input. Agrochemicals, and Zele Adeji is in poultry. So you can see an interesting diversity of professionals in the class from various aspects. So it shows that when it comes to us discussing around issues in agribusiness, everybody can bring in their own contributions from their own background. It's always interesting. I used to tell our MBA students that the lecturer can come to class with 15 years experience, but in your cohorts, you can have 300 years experience. For example, we have MBA classes that are like 40 students, 50 students. And if you have a situation in which each of them has an average of 5 years, you can have those that do not have up to 5 years. You can have those that have as much as 15, 20 years. Then the average comes to somewhere in the middle, somewhere around 200 years. So you cannot compare 200 years of experience with just a lecturer standing in front of you with 15 years experience. So it means that there's so much to learn from within the cohort in itself than from the lecturer that is sitting at the front or standing at the front. So it's very important for us to, as doctoral students, stimulate conversations around contemporary issues in agribusiness. If you have posts, something happening around your space, you can just share the link for the class to just discuss. I have over the years, come to that conclusion that people tend to learn a lot from informal conversations, sometimes much more than what they learn from formal conversations. So that's why we are doing this introduction, for us to know our backgrounds, for us to be able to be free to interact and also socialize among ourselves. It is from this socialization, from this class interactions, from this informal conversations that the real learnings, they come from. One of our students, she works with Emirates Airline. She's one of our students on the program. And, when we discuss, she would say, what she has learned from our colleagues in class, now she can safely say that she's an agribusiness professional. Because a lot of people come in with a lot of exposure, a lot of background, a lot of information from their spaces. So that's how we learn essentially. That's how we learn essentially. All right, thank you very much for making out time to join the class today. We'll see you again by Monday by the grace of God. So I will be looking forward to receiving our papers. And if you finish your own ahead of time, you can just submit so that we can have more time for the review. Yeah. So, Farmer Lawrence, okay, I can see your hand raised. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I didn't get the list of presenters. I know I can only see for Olakpeju Grace, and I think it was, though it was shared earlier, my name was not on that list. So I don't know if it's been updated.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, most likely it will be done tomorrow. It will be done tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
It will be done tomorrow. Thank you. Question, contribution. Questions, contribution, comments?
I have a question, sir.
All right.
So, please, sir, can you share like a sample or a format or like a guideline for preparing this assignment you just gave us?
I'm about to share something. I want to share something. Okay. Maybe I can share a few papers in the course of the week. Yeah, I'll try. I'll share a few papers from previous submissions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'll do that. Thank you. Questions, comments?
So what you're going to share, does it show the format you mentioned in your message that you sent on the group?
No. I think this is the first time that I'm providing this much details for guidelines. For previous classes, students just freestyle and just write their papers. But the papers, of course, will have major seminar paper structure, introduction, then the body, then the conclusion, all of those. Yeah. So there's no particular format. It's just for us to be able to have all this information that we're expecting and we're looking out for us to be able to have everything in your paper. And the paper must be coherent enough. Let me also say this. What you're going to present is going to be more like a PowerPoint presentation, but it's going to be wordy. However, when you are presenting, we are not expecting you to present by reading verbatim. One of the things that we're also going to train you on is ability to own your presentation. So anytime somebody is presenting and the person is reading word for word verbatim from the slides, it means that the person has not taken ownership of that material. Some people are presenting and then light will go off, PowerPoint will go off, and in a conference room where they are presenting, they will just pause. Like they will just stop until like 10-15 minutes when light is restored. Then they will not continue the work. And I'll be like, you should be able to speak to your paper at least 10-15 minutes, even without a slide, even without anything showing. Because you research this thing. So you must own it. You must take ownership of it, of that material. You must own it. You must absorb it. You must own it. It must become your own. Because you are preparing to be an authority in that space. So as an authority in that space, you must be able to speak to it. That's like me speaking about agribusiness now. Because it's already part of me. I don't need any paper or anything. I can always speak to it. All of us are experts. I know Farmer Lawrence, I've seen him speak on a lot of forum. I've seen some of our people also here that I know they are very vast in a lot of presentations. So let's apply that to our seminar. Let's own that work, and then we present it. So then after the presentation, you will now submit a prose format. The PowerPoint format might not be well detailed, but you will now submit a prose format, which is the one that we are now going to grade. Apart from the presentation that we are grading, we are also going to grade the main work itself. A lot of students have published papers from these seminars. In fact, we expect you to publish papers from these seminars. We have our journals now, African Journal on Agribusiness Development, AGR, which I've just brought her volume 1. Volume 1 is coming out shortly. You can publish some of these in-class papers in those journals. It will prepare you gradually for your main thesis, for your main research work, which is going to come at the end of your first year of coursework. So it's a learning process, right? Yeah, a lot of us are familiar with this process. A lot of us are MSc holders from respectable institutions, so I'm sure that we are familiar with all of this. It's not going to be too far away from what we have done in our masters. Yeah. Thank you. Any other question, contributions? I love questions. I love questions more than answers, actually. Any other question? So are we clear? Okay. Are we clear? All right.
Yes, sir.
You've not introduced yourself to the class.
Okay, sir.
You're
Good
hiding.
evening.
You're hiding from everybody. You're not the idea.
Good evening, my colleagues. I'm Oladoyin Aderonke Adepoju. I finished my master's from University of Ibadan, Agric Economics, and I'm a lecturer at Federal College of Agriculture or Plantation, Ibadan. Thank you.
Oh, you lecture at Mo Plantation?
Yes, sir.
You know Iyejawa?
Yes, sir. Ikojawa.
Ikojawa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it the one that introduced you to this program?
Yes, sir. I've spoken with you. I spoke with you earlier, even before collecting the form.
Okay. I remember you now. I remember you. This guy is your HOD. A good day.
Yes, sir. He's our current HOD.
Your current HOD. Ikojawa was the former HOD.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ikojawa is my friend for over 15 years. Oh, I remember you now. Good to have you in class. We'll talk more maybe later in the week privately.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, class. So let's enjoy the rest of our evening, and we'll see you again in class, God willing, on Monday. Thank you, and God bless you.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.